forgot to do a sound check before I started streaming, so I assume you all can hear me. Test 1, 2. I hear myself in the monitor. Let me know in the chat if this sounds good, and I'll be getting started in just a few minutes. Hello and good morning and welcome to, oh my goodness, here it is. The coding train, 2 days in a row, if you can believe that, which is kind of an odd thing considering that this is kind of the busiest time of the year for me, but I missed a week. There's a lot of stuff that I would like to get done before the end of the year. One of these days maybe I can do a kind of year in review or some kind of Happy New Year show, but not this year because there's not very many days left in December. So I have a very specific thing that I want to do today, and unlike yesterday where I don't think I got started with the actual coding tutorial portion for well over an hour, I think it might have actually even been an hour and a half, my intention is to get started with that within the first 10 minutes, ideally. But let me just make a couple quick announcements, which are similar things that to what I mentioned yesterday. One is the ITP show. If you are local to the New York City area, I highly recommend you come visit the new ITP IMA location here in Brooklyn, 370 J Street, downtown Brooklyn, this Sunday, December 15th, and Monday, December 16th. I will be doing a live stream from the show, most likely Monday. I'm pretty certain about this now, actually. I've scheduled it for Monday, December 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern is when I'm hoping to get started. So take a look at that, and if you're in the New York area, come say hello. I will have my stickers with me, hopefully. I got to order some new stickers. I've actually been giving a lot away, and I don't have very many left. So that's important note number one. Important note number two is just to remind you about, I guess I'll go to twitter.com/processing.org. The processing fellowship applications are due December 19th, which is just a mere 5 or so days from now. Because today is, I'm so excited for an excuse for this. It's Friday the 13th on the Coding Train. So I have a story to tell, actually. I'll play this music in the background. When I was just a wee lad, maybe around 10 years old. Oh, this is terrible. I gotta turn the music off. That's really freaking me out. It was Friday the 13th, and I was walking home from school, and a black cat crossed my path. I'm pretty sure this is true. Maybe I'm embellishing, but I actually, this is not that funny of a story. I had an injury that day where I was playing underneath the porch of my house. I don't know why I was under there, where I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. Go O's! Next year is going to be the year. And I bashed my head. I stood up and bashed my head and got like a big cut there, and I had to go get stitches, and they had to like shave a little portion. So I think, you can see that I'm kind of going bald up here. I know I look just so youthful, like I just graduated from high school just last week. No, when I go fully bald, which I assume will happen at some point, there should be a scar up there. I've never actually seen it, but we'll take a look. I've got a nice scar under here. Also, I've got a very large scar here. I don't know if you can see, and a lot of metal in my arm. That's that. Okay. What was I talking about? And then also, nice segue here. Thank you to today's sponsor of the Coding Train, Brilliant.org. We did some holiday music. So thank you to Brilliant.org. I will come back and talk a little more about Brilliant and look at one of their daily challenges. I was actually looking at it on the subway this morning. It's one of the things I like to do to exercise my brain. I really need to do some physical exercise as well. But if you want to learn more about Brilliant.org, go to brilliant.org/codingtrain. And if you're interested in a premium subscription, which will unlock all the features, you will get a discount by going through that link. Okay. I think that's everything with all of my announcements. So I could just get started. Oh, no. Fellowships, fundraiser. Right, then I started talking about Friday the 13th. Fundraiser. So please, if you can, consider supporting P5 this giving season. I talked quite extensively about the processing fundraiser and our goals for 2020 to be able to sustain these open source projects and the community behind them. I won't talk through all of those details again today. I will just point you to this page. You can see we have quite an ambitious goal of reaching fundraising $150,000. Some of that, and a large portion of that will be applied to leadership and stewardship of the P5.js library. So, I benefit enormously from these free open source tools. I use them to make tutorials. I've written books that use them. I teach with them. So a lot of the things that I have in my life are because of the volunteer hours and paid work that people have put in. And the more that we can fund and pay people to do this work, that's a really important thing for an inclusive open source project. So consider that, and you could be the proud owner of these. First of all, what you really should want are these beautiful artworks by these wonderful artists. But Sai, Coding Train Community Manager, they have designed a Coding Train zine, which features a whole bunch of recent coding challenges with images and source code. And if you want one of these, I will sign it. I don't know if that means anything. I don't know why it should, but I will. And you can get one. Thank you very much. All right. Now, I'm going to close out these windows. And where am I saving? Nope, here. Oh, here. OK. Now, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do today? I'm just looking at what weird music did I put onto this soundboard. Oh, that's Friday. This is Good Friday the 13th. All right, a little random number ASMR to warm up my voice. I'm still kind of getting over this cold. $25,332. 26,718. 34,371. 88,054. 86,571. 73,478. 16,284. 2,587. Read the comments, Dan says Technicolins. Arnav is giving me random numbers. 73,478. 26,718. This is a long song. Okay, let's move on. All right. So on yesterday's live stream, I created this example, and something very exciting is about to happen. Number one is I've just turned on my webcam, and I've got my computer facing me. You can see it here. There's my webcam. Hello! But you don't see me. Why? Because I have an external webcam today. So if I come over here, I can walk over here. Ooh, look at that. It's very glary. I can even, I guess I can switch this here, but then you don't see. Oh, I should create it. Oh, I could create a layout where I show both. Oh, interesting. Let me try something. Bear with me for a second. Just curious. I'm going to create a new. I'm going to put on this waiting music. I'm going to switch this. I have studio mode. I'm going to create a new scene. Scene dual split. I'm going to call this split screen. And I'm going to add. You can't see what I'm doing here, but you will see soon enough. Video capture device. And I want the laptop. Okay. Then I want to add video capture device, and I want a whiteboard. Then, now if I stand over here, it's this side of the way. Oh, this is perfect. Okay, then what I'm going to do, how do you crop in OBS? Maybe I'll hold on Alt. Shift, anybody know? No, that's squishing it. That's no good. Transform, fit to screen. Transform, copy, transform, rotate, flip, fit to screen, stretch to screen, center to screen, crop. How do I crop? How to crop Open Broadcast Studio. Click the source you want to crop, hold down the Alt key and drag the bounding box. Alt key, okay, Alt. Oh, I'm cropping the wrong one. The worst. Crop. All right. This is going to be so fancy. You guys are going to be amazed with me. Uh-oh. The music is gone. Hold on, let me add the music. Music is there. Now, all right. I can talk to you here, and it's doing my PoseNet here. Awesome, look at me, I am such a fancy streamer. Now I can even add a button to my Stream Deck. These are the kinds of things that a normal person would do before they start live streaming. And I'm gonna just add a new scene right here. Scene, we're gonna split screen it. We're gonna call it split. And I think that's good. I think it's there. So if I do this, great. Oh, and I can. All right. So when I come over here to demonstrate, why is the weird focus thing going on? Oh, there we go. All right. Thanks for bearing with me. So I think this is going to be important today because what I'm going to attempt to do is classify poses by training a neural network to recognize what pose I'm making. So let me clean this example up a little bit because I don't think I don't really need the skeleton. I'll leave that in there because visually it's kind of nice. I don't need to draw this stuff. I just want to draw all the key points and the skeleton. Let's make the key points also, let's try this. Let's draw the key points after. I think this will, I guess if I make it the same color, it doesn't really matter. Just want to get something very visually simple. That will do. I wonder if I should use a different color, but I think it's fine. What if I did this? Why the weird photo? Okay. I don't know. Somebody who's a designer, should I keep the lines in here? It's so weird how they appear and disappear. Could I get a, maybe I want to put this webcam further away. Also, where could I put it? Oh, it's showing the table now. That's no good. All right, it's gonna be fine. I would love to get like a full body shot, but this will have to do. How far back can I put it without showing the table? Further. Well, I see the table, so I can point it up a little bit. There we go. That will just have to do. Down a little bit. That'll do. Okay. Oh, here I am. All right. What's the haps, peoples? I forgot what I was doing. My glasses are very dirty. Please, let me clean them. And then I will talk about what I'm going to do. All right. Wow, the fan. The fan on this computer is going crazy. Can you hear that? Do you hear that? So Arnav is asking, the task is classification. But I want to do classification and regression. And it is 10:20. Someone's giving me a suggestion in the chat here. Okay. And we will begin. Come on, focus, camera. Ooh. Okay. All right, let's try this. This is going to be interesting. I really should mirror myself, but I'm just not going to worry about that. Let me add the flip image thing. So let's do, let me also add to this. Let me do something here. I am going to show you how to flip the video. I am going to say scale -1, 1, and then draw the image reversed, which means 0 video.width, comma 0. Is that correct? No. I've done this so many times and answered this question so many times for people, and yet I can never get it when I need to do it myself. So what I'm trying to do is, let's take a look here. Is the idea is that if this is my canvas, and I call scale -1, 1, that is flipping the horizontal axis, so that positive pixels go that way. Oh, shoot. I guess this camera is in a different position than it was before. Draw this again. If this is my canvas, and I call scale -1, 1, then that means the x-axis has positive pixels in this direction. 0, 0 is still here. So what I think that I could do, what I thought I could do was just draw the image with the x location here, and then it'll sort of unfold backwards, but in reverse. So I don't want to use ml5 flip image because I don't want to use ml5 flip image because I think that's going to cause an issue because the points will still come back unflipped. I could just flip it before I draw it. Still get the points unflipped. I kind of feel like just adding the because I also want to flip where the points are being drawn. So what am I doing here? So let's look at, I'll show you where this is done. In source, utils, oh, that, interesting, just translating. Oh, I wonder if the width and height is different. All right, so this is, here it is, it's just doing this. So then I can go back to here and say translate negative width, comma 0. Oh, sorry, video width, comma 0. This should do it. Oh, but then this goes at 0, 0. I'm doing it exactly the same way. Translate, scale. Oh. I need to translate first. Of course. There we go. Okay, so now this is, the reason why I wanted to do this, because I just don't want to have to, it's just going to add a whole layer of extra complications to flip. I can just flip the whole scene right there, which is the easiest way of doing this. Okay, so that is good. So now I can go back to split. Okay. Focus, focus, focus. There we go. And now, oh, look. It's just funny to put things in front of the camera. Giant bell. Ding, ding. Oh no, I can't. All right, well, sorry. I'm just entertaining myself here, waiting for people to show up. All right. Welcome to part, let's see, what am I saying? Hello, welcome to another video using ml5. Sorry. Remember how I said I wasn't going to do all sorts of ridiculous starting and stopping? Did I ever say that? I am saying that. Hello and welcome to another video using PoseNet and ml5.js. But in this video, what I'm going to do is take the output of the PoseNet pre-trained model and feed that into an ML5 neural network to train a pose classifier to recognize when I'm making certain motions like a Y, an M, a C, and a A. All right, so I talked about this at the end of the last video where I covered how to make this particular I talked about this at the, let's see, what do I want to say? All right. So the two videos that I'm assuming are prerequisites here are the previous one where I covered all of the code for this particular PoseNet example that you're seeing running right here in the web editor, as well as this train your own neural network set of videos that covered the basics about how the ML5 neural network class works, that covered the basics for how the ML5 neural network function works, that covered the basics of how the ML5 neural network function works to train a model to play musical notes based on where the user clicks their mouse in a canvas. Oh, this is not running. Oh, it is running. So to get started, I could really begin with either one of these sketches. Like I could bring PoseNet into this one, or I could bring the neural network stuff. I don't know where I'm looking. To get started, I could really begin with either one of these sketches. For example, I could go and get my PoseNet code and bring it into this particular sketch, or I could take the neural network code from this sketch and bring it into the PoseNet one. I think I want to continue working from the PoseNet sketch itself. And the first thing that I want to do is create an object to store the neural network. So I'm going to call that brain. And then after I initialize the PoseNet model, I'll say brain is a new ML5 neural network. And you might recall that anytime you create a neural network, you can specify a set of options for how you configure that neural network. Okay. Nathan is asking, is there a way to disable the webcam autofocus? I have no idea. Someone can look this up for me. It is a Logitech HD 1080p web camera. And if there's a way to do that, I would gladly do so. But I don't think so. Okay. The full range of all the options you can specify when creating a neural network can be found in the documentation, but I'm going to begin with just these 4 options. How many inputs, how many outputs, what's the task, and do I want to debug? Do I want... Let's get rid of the debug thing. I'll bring that back in later. The full range of all the options you could specify when creating the neural network can be found in the ML5 website documentation, but I'm going to just begin with just 3 things. I just want to do the basics. How many inputs, how many outputs, and what is the task? Oh. want to mention the canvas thing. Where should I have done that? Probably should have mentioned that right from the beginning. I'll come back to that. It's just that I have the diagram. I'll just diagram it again. Okay. Maybe I'll just do this out of order, and Mathieu can figure out when it should go in. Oh, shoot. How do I emphasize? All right. One thing I want to briefly mention before I begin the actual project here is that I added something to the code where I mirrored the image. So the image, it's a little hard for you to see, but is mirrored. You can see this is my left hand, but it appears to be my right hand in the actual image on my left. It's mirrored. This is a very important thing for interactivity because you want to see. Oh crap, this is so very hard to explain. Oh yeah, now I have to wait for it. I should never leave to wait for it to like pick me up again. All right. I want to explain what. Before I begin coding, let me quickly mention something I added between the last video and now. I'm mirroring the image so that when I raise my left hand, it's mirrored to me what I'm seeing on the screen in front of me over there. This is important for interactivity. It makes it feel much more intuitive and natural to see yourself mirrored. You might recall that the ML5 has a specific function called flip image that will do it for you, but I actually found because I'm drawing all this other stuff that it's easier for me to just write the code for it itself, which involves a translate and a scale. In other words, typically when I draw an image, I'm drawing it from 0, 0, in other words, typically, if I'm drawing an image at 0, 0, I'm drawing it right here, and the image gets painted across the canvas. But if I call scale -1, 1, it sets the x-axis going in the other direction. So positive pixels go this way, and if I translate over to here and put 0, 0 here and draw the image this way, it will appear reversed, inverted, flipped to the viewer. Okay. So that's what's happening in these 3 steps right here. All right, now, so Mathieu, I think that'll probably go earlier, and then, or something. We'll figure it out. So now let me, oh boy. And you couldn't see me writing any of this stuff. It's fine. Did that? That's a good idea. Clippy is doing a good idea, is suggesting a good idea of putting something on the wall so it will focus it. Let me try that in a second. Did the fact that you can't see that I drew 0, 0 up here, is that going to be like a huge problem? Do I need to redo that? I mean, at a minimum, I can do this right now. Like, that was fine, right? Do I need to redo that explanation? Maybe I want to redo that explanation drawing the diagram anyway. Don't redo it. Okay. Let's see here if I can. Oh, there's the eraser. Let's see if I can do that suggestion of putting something on the wall. Too bad the wall is not magnetic, because I would just do this, but it's not magnetic. Do I have any tape in here? It'd be nice if I had just like some gaffer's tape. I think this is an excellent idea that's worth pursuing. I have all sorts of stuff. Nothing to tape anything to the wall. I am a smart surface. No tape in this room. I know where I can find tape, but I'd have to leave here. And that seems like a sad thing. I guess I could, maybe I'll go get a piece of tape. Can you all tolerate that? So here we go. I'm going to put this on. I will be back in just a couple minutes. I'm going to get some tape. I am back, and I have some tape. Let's see if it works with just... Where's that on-air sign? Ah, here it is. Ah! Seriously? You can't focus on that? No! Nope. Put a plant in the corner of the room. Oh, I love that idea. I don't have a plant. I could get up. I think I know where a plant is. I love the idea of having a plant in the corner. Chair, sitting on a chair. This is getting ridiculous. print my face. Okay, I think I should just move on and let it autofocus. Oh, was it because the sign was under the camera? I doubt it. Oh, hey, look at that. Ta-da! I think the sign under the camera was messing it up. Oh no, I just got lucky. A printed face. I could print a face. That's going to take a little while. I have to like print something, send it to the printer, go get it. That seems ridiculous. I think maybe I'll just move on and let it focus on me. It's not that big of a deal. Okay. So here I go. Here I come to save the day. It's so warm in here. All right. Oh. Okay. Remember me? The full set of options for configuring an ML5 neural network, you could find. I'm reading the chat. Oh, interesting. The problem is the camera trying to focus on me. Okay, hold on. I believe you. Not that I just have to test this theory. Okay. It's focused on me. Now, no, I don't know. People, help me let this go. You know I have a problem with this kind of thing, and I'll spend like hours wasting time on this. I don't think it's a good use of anybody's time. You can find out more about what kinds of options you can use to configure an ML5 neural network, but I'm just going to start with the basics. Oops. All of the chat is making me crazy as I'm looking this way and I'm seeing in the chat. All right. Move on, people. Let's move on. All of the options for how to configure an ML5 neural network are on the documentation page on the reference, but I'm just going to work with these. Clicked on the wrong one. This here. All of the options for how to configure an ML5 neural network you could find on the documentation page on the reference, but I'm just going to work with these 4 basic ones. Inputs, output, what task is it, and whether I want to debug the training process or not. So let's diagram out what's going on to know how to fill out these 4 items. Items, whatever. I'm so distracted. Okay. We're really moving on now, people. moving on. All the options for how to configure an ML5 neural network are on the documentation page on the reference. All of the options for how to configure an ML5 All of the options for how to configure an ML5 neural network you can find on the documentation page for the reference. I'm just starting with these 4 basic properties: input, outputs, task, and debug. So let's come over here to the whiteboard and let's diagram out what's going on. Now remember, we're starting with the PoseNet machine learning model. We're sending an image into that model as the input. The PoseNet model then takes that image and does pose estimation, making a guess as to where all the key points are on the human body that it sees. And all those points come in the form of XY pairs, coordinates. Here's my elbow, here's my shoulder, here's my ear. It doesn't have an ear, whatever. Nose, there's 17 of them. 17 pairs. You can't see that. There's 17 of them, or 17 XY pairs. I'm so spoiled by the editing now. I should not allow myself to have editing anymore. It's ruining me. There's and that's 17 XY pairs. All of this data is what I want to send in as the input to my ML5 neural network. And I want my ML5 neural network to take all this data and give it a label. This is pose A, B, or Y, M, C, A, whatever those labels might be. Dab, no dab. It's a terrible idea. That's all these XY pairs, the ML5 neural network will take all these XY pairs and classify them into a given pose that has a label. It's a dab pose or a Saturday Night Fever pose. I don't know what kind of poses I'm going to make. I'll do YMCA. Why not? This now tells me how I want to configure my neural network. I want to send it 17 pairs of numbers. That's 34 inputs. And I want it to classify those 34 numbers into one of 4 labels. That is 4 outputs. Thirty-four inputs, 4 outputs. The task is classification. And I do want to see debugging as I'm training the model. And I have to give those options, whoops. And I have to give those options to the ML5 neural network itself. How are we on time? I'm going to take a break in a few minutes. Now here is where things get kind of complicated, right? I have to tell the sketch that I want to give it a pose through some interactivity. Like maybe I type the key Y, and then I need to run over here. Oh, why did it get so slow? Is there a memory leak? Oh, let me stop and start it again. What just happened there? Oh my God. Is this sketch running? I think I need to give my computer a break. Jeez Louise. Yeah, all right, why don't we do this? I wonder if I just prop this up to let the bottom breathe of the laptop a little bit. That might help. Let's give this a little break, and I will do. It is 11, so it's a good time for me to take my break. And the room is hot. Yeah. I can air out this room. Anyway, all right. This week, let me take a minute to thank today's sponsor, Brilliant.org. So I've been a user of Brilliant for quite a while now. One of the things I love to do are crossword puzzles, frankly, and Brilliant.org has actually taken the place of a lot of the time that I used to spend doing crossword puzzles in a wonderful way, because there's all sorts of other brain teasers and puzzles and learning things. But let me tell you something that is exciting about Brilliant.org, which I didn't know about till very recently when they let me know about this. I'm going to knock something off your holiday list, potentially, if you're looking for a gift. Because what you can do for the holidays, especially if you don't want to buy like a physical thing, is you can get somebody a premium subscription to Brilliant. So they have a special, let me go to the website here and you will see all these different buttons. There we go. I'm going to close these. Oh, the fan stopped fanning. That's good. I'm going to go to brilliant.org. I'm logged in here on my account, which is a premium account, and you can see right up here, this holiday season, spark a lifelong love of learning. So, for your niece, your friend, your nephew, your cousin, your mother, I don't know who. I suspect that they might not have Brilliant.org on their list, but they might be somebody who would really enjoy it. So I'm off my game here for so many different reasons, but so here's some new footage of their website that you can see how these fun interactive puzzles are in action. It's a really nice way to nurture curiosity, build confidence, and develop problem-solving skills crucial to school, job interviews, or career. So what I like to do, so you can go to brilliant.org/codingtrain and grab a gift subscription there. If you can also through the link, you can get a discount on the premium subscription. And what I like to do on the coding train when I take this little break here is to look at the day's daily challenge. And it's today's daily challenge. There's a bunch of them. Actually, one of them I was scrolling through. I think, oh yeah, this one. I already looked at this one. Don't be left with the lemon. Let me click on that. This particular challenge, I was thinking you might be able to do this with the Minimax algorithm, which was my most recent coding challenge. It's a rainy, boring day, so you and a friend decide to play a game. After finding 30 tasty cherries and 1 very sour lemon, you'll take turns eating either 1 or 2 fruits. So the last person to take a turn is going to get stuck with the lemon. So is there a strategy to, so if your friend knows a strategy and always makes the best possible move? If you get the first move, will eating 1 or 2 cherries give you a better chance of winning? This is basically exactly like talking about the Minimax algorithm. I love that, which is what I did in a current coding. So if anybody bothers to try to code this game and use the Minimax algorithm, I would love to hear about that. Let me know. One of the things that I especially enjoy with Brilliant is when the answer is you will eat the lemon, by the way. Oops, spoiler. Sorry about that. But I love seeing people's explanations. Are so usually, even if I know the answer, what inevitably, I can figure it out myself. What inevitably happens is I find somebody who's come up with a more clever way of figuring it out. Let's look at the today's challenge. This cut up however you like. Okay, a dissection cuts a figure and rearranges the pieces into a new figure. For example, the stellated octagon below can be dissected into a square and 4 isosceles right triangles. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Comparing areas. Whoa, look at that. Oh, that is wild. First of all, I just love the beauty of these patterns. And it's definitely like inspiration for different kind of coding challenges to make of that, create these kind of symmetrical patterns. One side of the triangle is half the side of a regular hexagon. What fraction of the hexagon is shaded? All right. So let's see. These are your 4 options. Maybe people will want to tell me in the chat. I'm going to go over to the whiteboard. So let's say, I think that I have a hexagon here. Can I draw a hexagon? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's like a dissection here. And then there's this triangle, where we know that this triangle, this is 1/2, we'll call this R. Maybe we'll call this R, the side. I don't know what a good name for that is, but the side of the hexagon. So what is the proportion? All right, so one thing is, this would be the same triangle flipped on the axis of this side. And so I could also put 2 of them here. So it's definitely not 1/4. It's more than 1/4. Is it 1/5? Just visually speaking, I don't think it's 1/5, right? Because look at these 2. I mean, first of all, I'm not drawing it really well here. But you could imagine if I was, so I could write a program to do it more to scale. But you can see here, right? If I were to draw that line there, I have 1 section, 2 sections, 3 sections, 4 sections. I mean, it's probably 1/6, right? Just intuitively looking at it, my guess is the way the math works out is that this section up here is the same as this one, the same as this one. Or maybe it's is there a 1/8 option? So conceivably it could be 1/8. Kind of looks like maybe there's more area over here. I suspect if we start to do some calculations, we'll find out that it's the same. So coming back to, let's see, so we could figure out the area of this, right? Because if this is 1/2 of the side, that's the hypotenuse. We know this angle. Oh, yeah. So this is definitely calculatable. I don't know that, right? This angle, right, this angle is 120 degrees, right? Because one of the things about a hexagon, oh, you don't see me. Sorry about that, everybody. Sorry about that. One of the things about a hexagon is that you can divide it into how many equilateral triangles? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so this is 60 degrees, so this is 120 degrees. right, I don't know why. This angle is the one I care about. This angle is 60 degrees. So if this is, what I'm looking at here, if this is r divided by 2, then the height of this triangle is sine of 60 degrees equals the height of that triangle divided by 2 times the height divided by r. So we could do like an inverse sine. I'm sure there's some like, we could also do x squared, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, Pythagorean theorem. So we could do square this. I suspect then, so then this is r. Oh, isn't it just the area of this triangle is r then? Oh no, but we need this length. Oh yeah, no. R times this divided by 2, right? H. That's weird. Am I getting this right? Let's look at one of the answers. I got to move on to finishing my tutorial. So let's see what everyone's saying is 1/6. 1/8 is too much if it go, right? People are saying 1/6 in the chat. My intuition, and I think through the Pythagorean theorem and trigonometry, I could calculate it exactly. My intuition is 1/6. Did I make it overly complicated? Let's pick 1/6. I'm going to hit submit. And I got it right. Oh, look at this. Oh, I love that. So this is a way of cutting it up. Oh, look at that. Fascinating. And you can see that that's 1/6, right? Because it's the equivalent. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, that's such a brilliant idea. Because you can, right. So you can see how this is the same as this. So then if we have that triangle, we take this part and just flip it over and put it on the top. Then you have that over there, and then that's 1/6 of the whole thing. That is such an excellent way of looking at it. All right. Thank you to Brilliant for supporting the coding train. It's really helpful to me. It makes a lot of what I'm doing sustainable. If you're interested in more, please go to brilliant.org/codingtrain. You can check out all of the daily puzzles for free and a lot of the content. And then to unlock all of the courses and all of the archive, you can consider getting a premium subscription. And the first 200 people who use this link will get a 20% discount on that premium subscription. Okay. Now, I am going to take a short break to air out the room a little bit and get back to my coding, to the tutorial that I'm doing today. So maybe if you have a different idea, add it, and you want to sign up for Brilliant, you can even just access this for free right now. You could write your explanation or comment on one of these other ones, or maybe make a P5 sketch that shows all of the pieces animating around. That would be cool. So I will see you in just a few minutes. Oh, I still have my mic on, I think. I still have my mic on. I'm still talking to you. I'm opening the door to get some cool air in here. All right, so this is definitely the problem. I see I have a super chat here, which I will answer this question. Thank you so much for the support, Sonic Streams. But I don't know why this is the case. I'm almost certain I was fully charged before I started today. Did I just like drain the battery while it was plugged in? What OCR in ml5.js do you recommend for your for text in Imager or video? So this is an interesting question. There is no ml5.js doesn't have as part of the existing library a built-in. I should close the door. I think I'll leave it open. It doesn't have a built-in model that does OCR, optical character recognition. I would search probably for, if you needed to do it in ml5.js, ml5.js is built on top of TensorFlow.js. So if you could find a TensorFlow model, even if it's a Python model that's been trained to do OCR, then you could convert that model to JavaScript. There's a script, there's a repo on the TensorFlow website that converts Python models to JavaScript. But unfortunately, that's not something that ml5.js, you could try to train one in ml5, but you're really going to need a more robust machine learning environment with a large data set if you were to train your own OCR model. Oh, sorry, is the music too loud? I will, hopefully my answer came through. All right, so I'm not sure what to do. I got it back up to 7%, 8%. It's moving on up now without everything closed. One thing that I don't know if makes a difference is my power cord was actually going through a dongle that also has HDMI out. It really shouldn't matter. So I removed it from that and just plugged it directly into the laptop. I am also propping my laptop up a little bit. Whoops. Which is giving it, like, it has some space between the laptop and the desk, which I'm wondering if that just lets it cool a little bit more easily, keep cool. So I don't know if any of that's going to make a difference. I really would like to continue with this, but it will be a problem if it's going to grind to a halt or drain the battery. So I'm not sure how best to proceed. I would like to see that get to 10%. And Nathan is saying your laptop was definitely fully charged 15 minutes ago from the live stream history and then suddenly jumped from 100% to 0%. That's interesting. Isn't there like a battery health? This is a new laptop. Isn't there like a battery health thing? that it like will tell you open energy saver. Ooh. I have it turned to never go to sleep, just while I'm live streaming, because I don't want it to disappear if I'm just talking. But all right, I guess I'm going to wait till that says 10%. Can I answer any? There's some noise to the audio, somebody's saying. Ashwin is asking, any special video on 1 million subs? I'm in search of an idea for one, frankly. My idea, of course, that you all are probably familiar with, is to make a live stream where I read this entire book entitled 1 Million Random Digits with 100,000 normal deviates. I would skip the 100,000 deviates and just read the digits. But I did some calculations, and it would be a very long live stream that I wouldn't be able to do. Simon is about to post his answer to the cut-up problem, so I could take a look at that. Well, am I at 10% yet? I'm waiting for that to hit 10%. And see, then the other thing I could do is, the other thing that I could consider doing is page 731. It's a great one. Is I could switch to using Visual Studio Code. Would that is the web editor contributing to probably not significantly? I'm at 10% now. Let's give this a whirl. Whoops. What happened to my password? Go. There we go. 10%. Let's see if we're back. All right. The camera would just focus. We're back and smooth again. All right. I'm just going to keep this stopped as much as possible. So I think one of the things that will help here, I'm already up to 11%, is that if I, while I'm doing the coding and talking, if I don't have this just running, which is just doing a ton of, just like sending the video into PoseNet over and over again is just using up a ton of resources. So I think this will keep me going. It's 11:20. Let's see how far I can get. Anybody remember where I left off? Here. Ah, right. Now I remember. Now comes the tricky part. Somehow I have to figure out some kind of interaction where maybe I press a key to indicate a label for a pose, then I walk over here, I strike the pose. I have to wait for it to this camera has to focus. And I walk over here, strike the pose. Ah, boy, this is super frustrating. So many things that I don't think of. Try this one more time. I'm going to just we'll edit out the waiting for it to focus. This is where things get kind of complicated because I need to call brain.addData. That's the way I add training data to my neural network. So somehow I have to have some kind of interaction. Maybe I press a key, I'll press the key Y, and then it'll wait a little bit, and it'll know after 5 seconds for when I come over here to start collecting pose data for a certain amount of time, then it will stop, and then I'll come back over here and press a button and do something else. So this requires a lot of thoughtfulness in terms of how I might build the interaction around this. I'm just going to try to do it in a simple way that I can get it to work right here, right now in this room. For a better example of how you might really do this, take a look at Teachable Machine. I made a whole set of videos about classifying images and sounds with this Teachable Machine project from Google Creative Lab, but they actually also have a pose model in there. So what I'm actually doing, nailed it. All right. For a much nicer example around interaction and collecting pose data, you can take a look at Google Creative Lab's Teachable Machine. So I've made video tutorials about training image models and sound models that can actually be imported into ML5. At this moment, you cannot import the pose model into ML5. Well, that's something that we're working on, and I'm hoping that this video tutorial will lead the way to that. But essentially what I'm building is a pose teachable machine. I just won't do as thoughtful of an interaction as here in the actual Teachable Machine project. You can see here in Teachable Machine, for example, there's a button that I can press, and it's going to give me a 10-second countdown. And then when I come over here, after 10 seconds, it's going to start collecting my poses for 15 seconds. So this is a much nicer example. I encourage you to look at it for inspiration. Of course, that was terrible training data, but now I'm going to go back to my code and try to implement my own version of this. Okay. So let's use a variable to keep track of the program's state. And I will start the program with it in a state of waiting. Then I'm going to add a keyPressed function. And I'll set the label to the key that was pressed. But I don't want to start collecting the data immediately. I want to wait a little bit. So I'm going to use setTimeout. And I'll pass in a function that I want to happen. I'll give myself 10 seconds. So I'm going to need a lot of time, which is 10,000 milliseconds. And I will set the state equal to collecting then. I'm thinking about this because I want to do another set timeout. It's gonna start to look really awkward. What's a more elegant? I mean, I kind of want to use promises and stuff, but what's going to be simplest here? I'm entering callback hell. Ugh. 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 It's definitely Friday the 13th today. Once the state is collecting, I want to look at where I'm getting pose information. Getting pose information right here in got poses, so that's where I want to add data to the model. So I've added an if statement here to see if I'm collecting. In theory, I would add data to the model, but I'm not ready to do that just yet. Let's just console log the word collecting to see that this works. I'm going to run the sketch. I'm going to press Y. And 10 seconds from now, it would be nice if I built a timer into this. How about for debugging, I change this to 1 second? And let's also console log the label. I'm going to press Y. OK. I have to click over here, maybe. I'm going to press Y. Is there already a keypad? Oh, no. And there we go. OK, I got the Y. Oh, it's not seeing any poses. Collecting. All right. It wasn't collecting until it actually saw a pose. So that's fine. Oh. Let me go back and do this again. Stop. I think, by the way, having the power plugged in through this pass-through device was what was causing the problem. Okay. I think I understand what I'm doing now, so let me do it again. Okay. Right, else statement for not collecting. Yes, yes, I see. Okay, see you later, Technicolins. I love that name. Okay. To keep track of what's going on in the sketch, I'm going to use a variable to keep track of this. Right. To keep track of the flow of the sketch, let me add a variable called state, and I'll just initialize it to waiting. And then I will add the keyPressed function. And when I press a key, I want to say state equals collecting. Only I don't want to start collecting immediately. I want to wait a little bit because it's going to take me some time to walk over there and get into my pose. So I'll use set timeout for a delay. Set timeout is a built-in function in JavaScript. It's not part of P5 that will execute a function after a certain amount of time. And maybe I want to execute this function after a certain amount of milliseconds. So I can put a little function inside here. I could use the arrow syntax. There's a variety of ways I could approach this. Let's just say 10 seconds later. Right, so when I press the key, 10 seconds later, set the state equal to collecting. Let's also have a variable called target label. And I'll set the target label equal to the key that was pressed. All right, so I have this function going. When I press the key, whatever key I press is a target label. I want to see that in the console. And then 10 seconds later, I want to see it say that it's starting to collect. Let me make that 1 second later so I don't have to wait as long. All right, and I'm going to press the Y key. Y, collecting. Perfect. So this is the right idea. Once that state switches to collecting, I want to call the ml5 neural network add data function. And the place to do that is in the pose detection itself. So if there is a pose, the data from the pose is what I want to add. Hold on. Let me erase. I want to use the whiteboard again, and I realize I have all this hexagon stuff. God, this eraser is the worst. 11:30. I was hoping to be done by 12, but I'll probably go a little past 12. Where I want to call the add data function is right here when I have a pose. So when I have a pose, I want to say brain, add data, and then the inputs and the targets. What are the inputs and target? The inputs are all of the XY locations of the The inputs are all of the XY locations of the pose itself. There's 34 of them. I mean, I have kind of an issue where the camera can't see my legs, so I probably should ignore some of them, but I'm just not going to worry about that. I could also consider using the confidence scores. Like maybe the confidence score, the neural network could learn when it's a low confidence score to kind of ignore that point. But I'll ask you to try all that stuff if you're making your own version of this. I'm just going to use these 17 XY pairs. So I need them to be in a plain old array. And if you recall, they're not in a plain old array. They're in this pose.keypoints, which each has an object, which is position.x. So I need to flatten the data. Whatever format the data is in, I want to just put it into a plain array. So I'm going to grab this loop. I'm going to create an empty array called inputs. And I'll just say inputs.push x inputs.push y. So this is me going through the entire pose, getting all the xy's, putting them in an array, which is the input to the neural network. And what's the target? It also wants an array, but in this case, it's one thing, just the label. So I can take the target label, put it in an array, and that's what I'm giving an add data function. Is that correct? Hold on, let me look at the other example. Oh, whoops. Where is that one? Neural network, I'll just go to this one. When I call add data. Oh, I made it an object in this one. Ugh. Well, I think it'll work the way I'm doing it. I forget that you can do it as an object or an array. We'll find out. You might recall in my previous neural network examples, I was making objects that I passed in with named inputs and outputs. So this is just showing you that you can do it either way. If I want to have names for all the inputs and outputs, I can build an object with properties. If I just want a big array of numbers, I can just make it a plain array. Okay. But there's a new problem. The new problem is, but there's a new problem. The new problem is, once I start collecting the data, I'm going to strike the pose, and maybe I'll collect like the pose for a little while. I got to stop collecting the pose. So let's go back up to where I started collecting the pose. I'm going to do something awful. This is so painful. I don't want to do it. Let's just do it, and then we'll revisit it later. We will. I'm going to call set timeout. I'm going to call set timeout again right inside here, because a second later or 10 seconds later, I want to stop collecting. This might be some of the worst code I've ever written. It's really awful to look at. It's what's informally known as callback hell, and there's a variety of ways I could approach this differently by using promises and async and await. But in this case, really all I want to do is set the state to collecting in 10 seconds, then 10 seconds later, set it back to waiting, and I think this will work for me. Let's give it a try. So I need to first press Y. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000, 6 1000, 7 1000, 8 1000, 10. Okay. Collecting. Ten seconds later, it should say, not collecting. All right. So, this is actually works surprisingly well. Okay, that worked. It waited 10 seconds. It set the state to collecting. I can only presume that it saved all of the data to the model. Oh, sorry. Okay, that worked, I think. It waited 10 seconds, set the state. No, it set the, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Nathan, for that suggestion. Let's have this discussion after the stream today, because I would love some suggestions about how to do this. Nathan is saying that I could do a challenge to properly implement a state machine, which is what I'm doing. Okay, that worked. What I'm doing here, quite poorly I might add, is implementing a state machine. So it might be nice for me to, in a separate video, which if I can ever get around to making it, talk about a more sort of proper way of implementing a state machine, but this works. I set this state variable to collecting, 10 seconds later, set it back to not collecting, and during that time, I am adding data to the ml5 neural network. Immediately what I want to do right now is add a function to save the data, because I do not want to do this many, many, many times. So in key pressed, I'm going to say if the key is S, brain save data. So let me quickly try collecting that one pose again and make sure it can save to a JSON file that I can reload later. press Y. Got 10 seconds now. Collecting. Not collecting. So I can come back over here. I can press S. And I now have a JSON file that was saved. Let's take a look at that file. Whoops. Just stop the sketch from running. Why did I make it like... That's fine. And this is what that file looks like. For every single pose, it's got X's. Those are the inputs. There should be 34 of them, 0 through 33. And then it's got the Y's, which is one label Y. So these are all of my poses saved here in this big JSON file. Great. I can now train them. I can now collect the data for all 4 of those poses. Let's see if I can manage to do that. First, Y. Superstar. Collecting. So now I'm collecting my Y pose. It's going to move around, up and down a little bit. Not collecting. OK. Now I'm going to do M. Collecting. Not collecting. OK. Should I really do all of these? C. Y, M, C, like this, right? Oh, really noisy data. C. Okay. MC. A. A. One more. A. This is a good exercise. Okay. All right, now let me save the data. Save. Oh, phew. Okay. Stop. Stop the sketch. I've got the data. 2 megabytes. So that was a lot. It's a large file, but not ridiculous. I'm going to rename it to YMCA. I'm going to now upload it to my sketch. And then I'm going to comment out all of the data collection stuff, because I'm just going to consider myself done with data collection. And I'll actually duplicate the sketch, and let me call this one data collection. I'll duplicate it and call this one now model training. Now, I can call brain load data. So as soon as the sketch the next step is when the sketch runs to load the existing data. So now I don't need to collect the data. I could load the data, collect more data. There's so many ways you could do this. But I just want to load what I collected previously. And then, when the data is ready, train the model for 10. So when the data is ready, when it's loaded, then I can call the train function. There's a lot of options I could configure train with, but I just wanted to go for 10 epochs. That's running through all the data 10 times. I might need a lot more. When it is finished, I want to just console log that it's been trained and save the model to my downloads folder so that I have it saved. Let's see if this works. Okay. So I see the training debug happening, but I don't. So I see the graph pop up that would show me the loss while it's training, but it never went down at all. Let's try giving it 100 epochs. This is not a good sign. What have I done wrong? I wonder if the way that I collected the label is wrong. Look back at the training data. Like, does this need to be called label? Can I not do it as an array? Let's test something here. Okay. Stop this. Let me go to I'm using that version of the library that I built yesterday. Let me make sure there's no like bug in the library. Oh, I have the whole thing there, okay. Ooh. Oh, now I got something worse. shoot, I should have. Does it require me to do the following? Like this is how I did it before. I'm going to have to collect data again, but this is fine. Yeah, I don't think it's because of the way that, I don't think it's because the pose data itself, is the focus kind of blurry? I don't think it's because of the way the pose data is too similar. That would certainly be a problem, but I think something else is going on. All right, I'm just going to collect 2 poses. Wait, hold on. And then when I'm doing the collection, should be this. I'm going to change it to this. So I'm just going to do pose A and B. I'm going to do a little test here. Pose A. This is pose A. Let's do pose B. I'll just stand straight. Do this. This is pose B. Okay. Now I'm going to press T for train. Ooh. Oh, whoa. That failed. I didn't normalize the data. I don't think I need to do that. It should just kind of, I guess the data, I really should normalize it. Hold on. Oh, I should have saved that data. Could that be it? What time is it? Definitely not going to be doing the regression. Brain and normalize data. Remember to save the data next time. Let me go back to this version of the library. Sorry, let me do this again. So this is pose A. Okay. This is pose B. I'll just stand here for pose B. Meditation. Okay, that's pose B. Let me save the data. Save. That's the data. Let me try training the model. Ah, there we go. I think I was just missing normalizing the data. Or I need to also like call it label. So that's a good sign. Okay, I did get it to work. Let me go back and see if I go back to loading. Let me put this back to 4. Brain. Let me call normalize. Ah, okay, great. So it just doesn't work without normalizing the data. That totally makes sense because those numbers are huge. So I'm a dum-dum, as we all know. And I can take this out. Comment all this out. I'll leave that in there. So let me go back to this. Well, guess what I forgot to do? Something very important. If I am creating a data set that I'm going to feed in and train my own neural network model, I better normalize that data, right? These numbers are pixel values. My canvas is 640 by 480. So these numbers are really large values, which aren't going to work well with the way that the... Sorry, I gotta stall anyway because I need the laptop to start calming down. What is the data that I'm collecting? These XY values are on my P5 canvas, which has a resolution of 640 by 480. So they're large values. They need to be normalized down to a standard between 0 and 1. So I'm going to let the ml5 library take care of that for me by just adding the normalized data function. Oh, wait a second. So let me just change this back because I want to leave it as it was. So right here in data ready, before I train the model, I can call normalized data. Let's run it one more time. Let's just go down to 50 epochs. And there we go. Now I see a loss going down the way I had hoped it would. And the model is trained and presumably saved to my downloads folder. Let's go take a look. Because I was trying this multiple times, I have a mess of files here in the downloads folder. So what I want, because I was doing this multiple times, I have a mess of files down here in the downloads folder. But the one that was most recent is number 5. So I'm going to get rid of everything and just rename these back to the default names. And now I can upload the model that I trained back to the P5 web editor. Let's duplicate the sketch one more time. I'm going to call this PoseNet deploy. Let's create a folder called, let's create a folder called model, mode. Let's create a folder, call it model. Add the model files. Oh, what? It complained at me, but I think it actually worked. I can see the files over here. And now, instead of loading the data, I can load the trained model. But if you recall from the previous videos, there are 3 files for the model, so I need to create an object to store all 3 file names. Here we go. There we go. The format for how that has to be, I can find on the reference page for ML5 neural network. Copy this to clipboard. Bring it over here. And put in my path, which is just called model. Let's run the sketch and see if I can just get model ready here in the console. Oh, I'm just missing a quote. Thank goodness. And I'm inconsistently using single and double quotes. Let's fix that. Oh, it's not neural network. I called it brain. So close. PoseNet ready. PoseNet ready. Huh? Oh! I have a callback for PoseNet for when it's ready called model loaded. So this needs to be, I'll call this brain loaded. So remember, we're using two machine learning models here. PoseNet, which is doing the pose estimation, then the outputs of that model are going into my own neural network that I've trained called Brain. Let's try this one more time. Pose classification ready, PoseNet ready. Wonderful. Incidentally, the classification model was loaded first because PoseNet actually has to reach out to the cloud and download the model from Google servers. All right, everyone, we're so close to being done with this. We are so close to being done with this, just a couple more steps. Once my brain is loaded, I can actually ask it to classify. So I can say brain.classify inputs, and when you've got a result, call getResult. The question is, what are those inputs? These are those inputs. The same thing I did when I was collecting the training data, grabbing the XY pairs, flattening them into an array. I need to do that for the inputs that I'm sending in when I'm deploying the model and asking it to guess, asking it to do that classification. Whoops. So I can grab this exact same code. Uh-oh. Weird. Why is the if collecting gone? I guess I took that out at some point. That's weird. Didn't I have like an if state? I guess I took that out at some point? That's weird. Hopefully I had it in there when I was actually collecting the data. Or I wasn't just collecting all the time, was I? Weird. Does anyone remember? I must have taken that out. All right. Here's the loop before. Here's the loop from the data. Here's the loop from the data collection where I flattened it into a single array. I can grab that. This shouldn't even be in there anymore. And I can bring that in here, but I'm going to, once I get the result, want to do this again. So really, I should take all of this, write a new function called classify pose. Make sure there is a pose in the first place. I hate how, by the way, when I do the auto format, it like sets me back up to the top. There's got to be a way to tell it not to do that. Got to file that as a issue. It's driving me crazy. Then once the brain is loaded, just call classify pose. I need the got result callback, which has two arguments, error, results. And I'm just going to say console log results index 0 dot label. Oh. Let's console log the whole results as well. So in theory, the first pose I get should be if there's a pose when the brain is loaded, or there won't be. So I'm going to have to, I'm going to put the recursive loop call in here and call classify pose again. So the idea is when the brain is loaded, classify a pose. If there's a pose, call brain.classify. But what if there's no pose? I'll never go get a result. Otherwise, this is a really silly, but I'm anticipating an issue that I'm going to have. So what I'm going to do is, if it doesn't detect a pose, let's just say, hey, in a little bit, why don't you wait like 100 milliseconds and call classify pose again. So that way it'll continue to check. So at some point, eventually, there will be a pose. It'll call brain.classify. When that's done, it'll call it again. If there ever loses detecting a pose, it won't stop. It will actually continue and just every 100 milliseconds keep trying again. All right, I think there's no way this is going to work, right? Let's give it a try. All right, all's ready, all's ready. I'm seeing a Y. I froze. Come on, focus camera. Y. A. Y. C. C. A. Y. M. What? This actually worked. That sort of worked. Well, let's just throw caution to the wind and draw the label in big letters on the canvas. I'm going to set it equal to Y so that I see it right there at the beginning. And at the end of draw, I'm going to say fill 255, 0, 255, no stroke. What was it called? Pose label. Okay, there's the Y. I can make it bigger. Okay, there's the Y. Oh, it's going to be reversed. It's going to be flipped because of the, so I'm going to also put push here. It doesn't matter. Y is symmetrical. Y and the C won't work. And then pop here so that the Y is always in the center. Okay. Now, when I get a result, set it equal to that label. I kind of want to see the confidence. So I'll log the confidence to the console because I want to see how sure it is about that particular label. All right, here we go. One, two, three, four. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. Oh, we need these to be capital letters. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. 1, 2, 3, 4, Let's go slower. One, M, C, Huh. I mean, I think basically, where's the split? So this is really done in terms of like a well, hold on, me. So Amr is asking a good question. Don't you need to normalize the inputs also? The ML5 neural network remembers how you normalize during the when you train the model, and when you load the model, it keeps all that range in and renormalizes it for you. So maybe that's not super clear. That's a good question, but yeah. So it would be really fun if I could actually use the YMCA song. But I think what happens when you use a song on YouTube is it immediately copyrights, it detects it as a copyrighted song and then puts ads and sends the ad revenue to the Village People, which I'd be glad to support. I'm glad for my ad revenue to go to the Village People. Maybe it's worth it. It actually is, it's definitely worth it. But actually, I don't monetize these ml5.js videos because this project is funded in part of the work that I'm doing at NYU. Everything's a very blurry gray area, but I assign these videos in my courses. And so when I assign videos in my courses at NYU, I take the ads off. But I do have ads on a lot of the videos. It helps with, and I obviously have sponsors for the live stream, which helps things move along. Content ID or something content ID. All right. Yeah. Let me just wrap this up. I mean, Mathieu can do his own fancy split screening thing. But so thanks for watching this. I'm kind of shocked it works. There's so much more that could be done with this. First of all, a question came up, which is, you forgot to normalize the data after during this classification process. And ML5, one of the nice things it does is it saves the normalization minimums and maximums from the training process and then reapplies them later. So I don't have to call normalized data again. That's happening behind the scenes. Otherwise, what other kinds of labels, what kinds of other outputs, could I play different drum beats based on a pose? What other kinds of things could you classify? If I collected a much larger data set, if I was more thoughtful about how I was collecting the data, could I get this to be much more accurate? Give this a try, make something. What I definitely also want to do, which I'll need to make another video about, is turn this into a regression. So once again, could I play a musical instrument? Could I, actually, somebody made a Darshan, okay, sorry. Is do a regression. So could I take that example where I play a frequency, woo, woo, and alter that frequency by changing my motion, my movements? And in fact, I could actually have the output of that regression be color. That might be something to explore. I got this idea from a viewer named Darshan who submitted a community contribution where instead of painting with sound, you're painting with color with a regression. And that's really interesting because it requires you to have 3 different outputs, an R, a G, and a B. So take a look at that project, and maybe I'll think about doing something with poses and color output in the next video tutorial. Oh, I just have to do this a little bit more because it's too fun. What if I do this? Oh, I have an idea. What if I only change it? Oh, did anybody see what the confidence levels are? What if I only update it? Where is that happening? How come I can't find anything? Oh, you're not even seeing me. I really have to go. 12:20. I got 10 minutes here, reasonably. Last I pose. Got results. Where's here it is. Ah! I have an idea. What if I only update the label if the confidence is above a given threshold? Let's take 75%. Maybe this will eliminate some of the noise. It totally helps, right? Because it's not flickering as much because it's only altering it if it's really confident about what the pose is. And I can maybe make that threshold even higher. The M and the A are so similar. You're all right about that. It is able to get it, though. M is something slightly different. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Woo! Woo! Okay, everybody. All right, I think I'm done for today. Thank you for watching. Let me save this. The interesting thing is, this sketch, I think it'll still work even with you, right? Okay. Let me. All right. In the Navy, in the Navy. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Okay, Darshan, thank you. I'm a little out of breath, but one more thing I want to say. Again, unlike with my previous examples where I've trained models that do something similar based off of images and pixels, in this case, the pose data is more generic, that I think if you go to the URL for this sketch, which is in this video's description, you could make those poses and hopefully it'll recognize them. So give that a try, and I can't wait to see you in a future coding video. Goodbye, have a great day. All right, everybody. I'm so pleased that that worked. All right, any last questions before I go? So I'll have to come back and do the regression another time. Hopefully the focus wasn't so bad in this, but if it is, it is what it is. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all. Goodbye, goodbye. It was great. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. I will be back on Monday to live stream the ITP show somehow. I have to figure that out. What will be the next challenge? Well, I did spin the, this is a good question. I did spin the wheel, work good, and you can check, you can look for David Snyder, a viewer of the coding train, has been creating this, has started this repository for a wheel spinner to pick coding topics. And the last time I did it, it came on something which sort of turned into, I'm going to do the Hilbert curve. But I'm hoping to do that as a Coding in the Cabana video over the holiday break. So maybe even, I'm really waiting for a nice day where there's a big snowstorm. I could do a snowy Coding in the Cabana. It's going to be very cold in there. There's no heat. But that's my plan. Connecting the dots game using P5. That would be fun. Hi, haha, LOL. I'm glad you're starting to learn to code. Also, do things that aren't coding also. It will help you with your coding. Nathan is asking a great question. Nathan says, I saw you had a Word2Vec series in which you never did the actual machine learning part. Yeah, I ran into an issue, which is that the ML5 Word2Vec implementation, which I was a part of working on, we never kind of got it anywhere that was viable. And so I kind of like just lost track of that. I would love to come back to that. It also is like, when I don't have a course that I'm teaching that uses the stuff, I tend to not focus on it. And like this post classification stuff and everything is something that I was working on all semester. So that's why I really wanted to get this stuff done. Bashir asks, thank you. Are you interested in WebAssembly? Yes, I am interested in WebAssembly. Do I know anything about it? No, but I'm interested. All right, goodbye everybody. I'm going to switch you off to my looping train. This will, I think Nathan, did I already touch on this? The loop is off, like there's a glitch in it, so that'll be fixed next time. And then I also want to put things on the top like show starting soon or on a break with like a countdown timer or something, so I have to figure out that. Would ML5 accept contributions using WebAssembly dependencies? Let's have like an offline conversation about that. I don't know enough to answer that question. If you're interested in that related to Word2Vec, it might just make sense to make a separate Word2Vec project that has nothing to do with ML5 as a idea, and then we could play with it, make some examples, do a tutorial with it, and then that could get folded into ML5 if it seemed like it made sense. Okay, goodbye everybody.